Masaibu yametupotezea connection, but tumerudi. We are having a conversation with Slim Shaka. I really wanted this to be a one-part conversation, but the thieves that ni Kenya Power wamemaliza tokens, but we are back. I really hope Slim atarudi na wale watu wenye walikuwa hapa nasi. Ndio hiyo Slim amekuja tena. Shukran sana Slim for joining. Nataka kujoinisha. Hebu jaribu tena. Shukran sana Babu for coming back. There we go. Yake kwenye focus. So the thieves that are Kenya Power had done the thing, okay, but token. So but we are here. Shukran sana to Clef and Bandana. Shukran to Joyce. Shukran to Babu for joining once again. Unaweza pick up from where ulikuwa?
Yeah. I was talking about my desire to ever do, yes, a production kule mashambani, kule mashinani, using my mother tongue. I think kitu ya kwanza, it would be the proudest thing that I as an artist will ever achieve. And also nilikuwa naongea about what, you know, me and Pablo having to spend a lot of those hours in the studio and just preparing and planning for the show. Obviously kuna kuwaga na these conversations hapa na kule about, you know, our journey and the process. And Pablo was privileged to work with elder, the late Ayub Ogada, and he kept sharing how to Ayub, his people, yes, he called them his people, the villagers, were a very instrumental part of his life. They were very significant in all his creation, to a point that there was one instance that that he shared. He said there was this one production. Ayub was to be funded or sponsored by BBC. Yes, is it BBC or CNN? I think no, CNN can't do it. It's BBC. So they wanted Ayub to fly abroad. Is it Britain or whatever that their studios are? And he insisted that it's very important to have this production done here in Kenya. So they had to ship a producer, yes, a Grammy award-winning producer to Kenya, just so they would do this album together. And the guy flew in, and they had particular session. And so Pablo was sharing that whenever you do a track for Ayub, yes, you go and produce and master it. When it's sent to him, and you know you're very excited wanting to play it for him, and he'd be like, no, don't play it. Let's go and play it to the people. So they would carry their speakers and all this, and they would go to the changa dance, and that's where they would listen to the music for the first time. Sisi tunakuaga tunaitisha yo hebu tuma hiyo kitu kwanza. I want to listen to it immediately. I want to know if it's good or not. But he shared that Ayub's process was sharing it with the people, and if the people loved it, then it's good enough for him. And yeah, that pretty much became the man that he is, the man that he was. Everything about him was built by his people. And I also have that thirst, yes, of wanting to create something and take it to this that I call my people. I am so disattached to them, to a point I don't think they recognize me anymore. I don't think they acknowledge what or recognize what I do. Probably they'll acknowledge and recognize nikienda na pesa, But at this point, just the value of the art itself, as long as I don't do it in their language, as long as I don't address the things that matter to them in the village setup, then I'm just one of those kids who belongs here but was raised outside. So I think, I hope and I pray, I don't really pray, but I am hopeful. Yes, I'm hopeful that someday I will just be able to talk about the things that really matter to them in the language that they enjoy and love the most. Yeah, hiyo ndio nilikuwa nazungumza kuhusu.
Kuna a lot of branches stemming from what you've mentioned. Tukiongelea language of expression, in terms of vile ulikuwa unaandika na Sheng, and then transformation yako kwanza kuandika na Kiingereza, kisha hii idea ya kudai kuandika modern day contemporary proverbs na maxims, then tying that to lugha ile unafikiria in, because it's tied to how tuna view the world, and then what we are consuming in turn affects how we think na how tuna express. And then now umeleta pia aspect ya culture, angle ya culture na tradition, and tying to story ya Paul akikwambia kuhusu Ayub and how alikuwa na play music, which also ties to what we would call acceptability in terms of who is the music for, na who should accept and who should vibe with this music. Ndio kwako kama msanii, or with your art, ndio feel haya nimeachieve whatever nilikuwa na achieve. And whatever you've said, iko na a lot to delve into that niko glad bring up, because you've said processes feel quite different. Someone would want to send a track to a friend or to a critic or to someone first, wenye wanajua they'll respond in a particular way, ama watanipatia particular feedback, and then I rework the track, or I usually send my tracks to this one particular person for whatever reasons, or nikireceive a track, I'll go on a drive, nisikie kwa gari yangu kwanza. Kuna different processes that tunatumia whenever they're going about releasing music. And when you talked about Ayub, nimekumbuka nikisikia debut album ya Denyatiti player called Anyango Diva, the Next Diva, na kwa hiyo debut album yake nilisikia last year for MWE. Nakumbuka kuna some of the recordings you can hear and a play wase live. So ni case where you can tell amearrive kwa hii kijiji na ana play kwa public gathering, and then you can hear people dancing and talking and some of them conversing as ana play. And kuna hii idea ya field recordings being so potent in music because of how they capture time and how they document. Same to an album I have been listening to called Kenyan Songs and Strings, which is a compilation of folk music recorded in the 1950 and in
Well,
1950 and 1952. So kwa hizo field recordings unaweza sikia ambience, unaweza sikia the atmosphere, who is there during the recording, people wakiupload, watu wakiongea, and it has that element. And it's one thing that mukuwa glad nikisikia kwa current and contemporary Kenyan electronic music, those artists who use field recordings in their music, it adds something else. And so kuna Nyokabi Kariuki, kuna Kamaru, kuna Heka Muziki, they usually do this a lot. Kuna Coco M, and their music is so rich because of your idea ya field recordings. And I just thought about this as ulikuwa unaongea. Still on language, earlier kulikuwa na question from Winnie akiuliza what is colonialist in Sheng from our previous live.
Wabeberu.
Kutoka dinani.
Wabeberu.
Hiyo ni Kiswahili sanifu. And then
Ameuliza kwa Sheng.
kwa Sheng.
Hiyo labda J Alpha tukwambie.
Na alia pia Munga coach alikuwa anasema niache kuharibu nikikwambia unachoose tu kuongea lugha ya mkoloni wako. Ni sawa, Slim wako tu sawa. Slim for now at this point ya career yake ana target white audiences, so he has to do this.
Hapana isikuwe hivyo. We. I think the content of my poetry and my pieces, they largely offend those that are not okay, well, let me just call them white people. To use those that are not would include Indians who are our brothers as well, Asians and all that.
Mwongelea Pablo na ametujoin. Ni aje Shudu, karibu sana.
Shudu is here.
Slim was telling us a very fascinating story kuhusu Ayub and process yake ya kisikiza music. So Slim, between ulikuwa unamalizia pia. So how did all of this affect your point ya Poli na Slim Shaka? What is that linkage?
So later on, I just decided I have to rebrand. Yeah, I decided I can't just, I can't just start on a different vibe, and then so with now Slim Shaka, when I came back as Slim Shaka, was this poet who is very in love, yes, with political history and wanting to delve deeper, yes. And then there's also the aspect of storytelling. Remember Poly, it was just spoken word, yes. And now I realized I can do spoken word, I can do storytelling. So I realized it's more of a rebirth, yes, a rebirth of who I am, and even how I perform, and the tone and the dramatic expressions on stage. All that had to change, and I realized I don't think I am Poly anymore. I think even with the rebranding, it kind of creates that curiosity of people wanting to just understand and know who this Slim Shaka is. And yeah, I just rebranded, and it became a rebirth, and it's never been the same.
Of course not. Isn't it seeds zile Babu aliplant in your head in 2016, na the idea of activism and revolution? Babu, we see your work. We see your work years later. Joyce anasema no, Brenda Fast anasema nimesikia colonialist ni Sheng ya koloni, hiyo pia ni Swahili kama tu mbeberu. Then Joyce anasema thought ni kukua na Shaka, you are very slim. or tiny silly me. Hebu ambia nani? Ambia Joyce why Slim Shaka. Inamsumbua sana.
It's maybe for the same reasons why Eminem was Slim Shady. You
But
know?
Slim Shady.
Yeah. It's a cool name. It's a cool name. It's
So shukran sana Shiuni, nasema pleased to be here farm, na pia Mr. Mutinda Muliro Trabuli ameungana nasi. Shukran sana to Mr. Tra. Thank you for joining us. Na posting pia Hirudi, asante sana. So between last year 2022 na sahi 2023, Slim Shaka amekuwa Slam champion, the 65th, and currently the reigning champ wa Slam Africa. Umekuwa kwa Groupies Black Boy Joy last year in May, ulikuwa kwa Mufasa for President ya Mufasa, ulikuwa kwa The Launch na Kusheki EP ya Kim Chokera, ulikuwa kwa Vita vya Vina ya Mbunge in November last year, apparently his last show in quotes. Then umeheadline Cheche Session, umeperform kwa the Makondo Literary Festival. Tupatie insights as to how this past 1 year has been for the cool Slim Shaka.
Kwanza kuna moja unasahau bana. Yes. Organized by Good Institute. Yes.
The reading.
A German author.
The reading, I know.
You know. Kabisa. You should
Slim.
Yes.
You know who this is.
The people must know. Hey man, but it's been a wonderful one.
That one really surprised me. And you can only get there kupitia Kiingereza chako. As I've said, endelea Slim.
Nakwambia lugha ya mkoloni inafungua milango. You know, Mbunge was sharing with me and he's like, Bana, you poets who perform in English are privileged, you know. It is assumed that you have a global audience and a global reach. So I am able to reach places where he can't reach. I'm like, si unaweza fanya both. Hey, but I think it was an interesting year for me because the main reason why I slammed was because I just wanted to show people that this is what Slim Shaka can do. Yes, I had not, I think until the last few days, but I had not really envisioned myself to win, and I had not even prepared. Yes, I had not prepared. If I had known, then I would have prepared better for that Slam championship. I think I would have prepared by planning maybe productions later on. I would have had albums, you know, or maybe, you know, poetry anthology, something to give the people out there. But it caught me by surprise. And immediately I won Slam. Nilikuwa in excitement, but at the same time, I was in a panic because I didn't really know what to do now. You know, it's this thing now. You've won it. Everyone wanted this thing. What do we now do with it? I remember I used to call. I called so many former Slam champs, and I was asking them, you know, what is required of me? What do I do with this crown? How do I even make money from this, you know? And a lot of the guys were telling me, you know, it's a crown. Yeah, you have to use it to get these opportunities. It gives you license of some sort. There are doors that you knock. It's like FBI, you know. and so I started reaching out to people. I started reaching out to organizations, and it was just simple. I was surprised because I went to Good Institute they just usually had that reading, and I was like, yo, I want Poetry Slam Africa. I want to work with you. And yeah, it seemed at first like not such a convincing thing, because I didn't even have a portfolio. Someone would be like, send me your portfolio. I didn't have works online. I didn't have anything to show that I was a good artist, rather than just the fact that I had won slam. Yeah. I now realize actually you need a portfolio. You need something to speak for you. Not everyone out here knows you. But at least the guys from Good Institute, yeah, they've worked with artists from Poetry Slam Africa before. And I decided, these guys know me. They now know I am king. Let me show them that I am king. You know. And yeah, we organized for that. And they brought this artist from Germany, and he was coming, and I was given excerpts from his book. And when he flew in, and during that session, he was called to talk about his book. And then now his CV is read to the people. And then now after his CV is read, I was praised. But you know how this happened is, he had his CV, and so I was asked to write something that they would use to present me. I didn't have a portfolio. The only thing I had was having been featured at Evolution Art Hub and having won the slam. I didn't have anything else in my portfolio. So nilijichocha hapo kabisa. And so when they read it out, I seemed like a very important person, And I did the thing. I used the colonial language, and I came out of that place as a very important person. A language is powerful, man. This German guy went back to his country, telling the wife, how talented this guy. I have fans in Germany, man. This guy, his wife, and his kids,
You're international.
No, I'm international, man. And then later on, now these things, people would think, yes, that when you win slam, now you have everything. Opportunities are flooding. You're drowning in opportunities. No, it's you get one opportunity, and then you always have to sell yourself. Yeah, you always have to sell yourself. So that now became the journey that I did not know. I actually thought after winning, people would be calling me, my phone would be buzzing, like, yo, Mr. Slim Shaka, we value you, we care about you, we are offering you this amount of money, and then someone else calls, and now I have to weigh between which organization. Nah, that didn't happen. So I kept reaching out to these people. I kept explaining to them why I feel I am worthy of their opportunities and their stage. And slowly now I started to learn how to network. I learned, and I think this is very important to every artist who is here, these event organizers don't relate with them as event organizers. If you have their contacts, it's very special and very important to sometimes just call them and see how they're doing, That is one lesson I learned, because these people, especially from Good Institute, I'd call someone and be like, yo, how are you doing? I just wanted to check up on you. They're like, by the way, we have an event next week. Why don't you come over? So now I realized people get opportunities because of network, not because of how good they are. You will spend years on stage perfecting the beauty of your language and your artwork, but you will not get as many opportunities as people who are making value of their networks, yes? So that's one thing that I learned. And now slowly you start getting calls, you start getting referrals. That's another thing. It's snowball, yes? Because this one person that you relate so well with, when they have an event or they meet another event organizer, they'd be like, there's this artist who I really think would be valuable to your event. Yes. So it's high time we also had conversation and saw them as human beings than just event organizers and event curators. And from there, relationships become opportunities, business opportunities. So yeah, so pole pole, now I started getting now events. I started creating a network. So it's one after the other. So right now I am no longer at a place where I am hoping that someone will call me and give me an opportunity, but I have contacts I can reach out and be like, I think, or ask, yes, ask them what projects are they doing and how can I come in as an artist who gives value. Yes. So now I have changed my perspective, and now slowly I start getting events. I start knowing how to communicate with event organizers. So I think for me, 2022 has been a very valuable year for me, learning how to just get out of my comfort zone and create networks. So I'd say networking is the biggest achievement that I have been able to get for 2022. Right now, I call people in Brazil. You know, in Brazil they call me Shaquito. They call me Shaquito, and you know, when guys are like, you know, if you ever think about coming to Brazil, you already have somewhere to stay. You already have a family. Now you start to envision. You're like, okay, now I need to get my passport. Okay, now I need to panda ndege. At least finally I have yo. My passport is blank, bwana. But I have it anyway. I'm still hoping for the day that I will get that one. Yeah. But yeah, hii yote nimetengeneza in 2021. So now I can say I have friends in Germany, I have friends in Brazil, and when Chioniso came for the slam also, we interacted, became very close friends, and she introduced me to some of her friends in Zimbabwe, and now I am talking to two people who are very close to me in Zimbabwe, so I can also comfortably say that I have a family in Zimbabwe. So I think for me, networking has been 2022 for me.
Ukidai kusafiri as much as you want to na upate hizi stamps unatafuta, shikilia mkono ya babu really close. Babu kama the traveler that they are, atakusaidia sana. And we can clearly see that Slim Shaka ametake chance ya kutokea kwa hii live ya Sanaa kwa Sana, kuonyesha portfolio yake ya marafiki na his international community. This is yani ameamua tu acha ni show, I am not one of you. Niko na watu Zimbabwe, niko na watu Brazil, niko na watu Germany, niko na familia from Ibrahim Solo pale UG. Yani he's just using this chat to show us how international he is. I am so glad we're a rapper. This could just be your content. This could have been all your content. Yani kutubragia tu. And then also because umetumia language ku knock milango za our colonizers. I mentioned Ngugi for previous live. One person who would have been proud that manipulate language to fit context yako would have been Chinua Achebe. For those of you who know the beef between Ngugi na Chinua kuhusu language and their polemics, you get the reference. So nisome comment hapa, but before that kulikuwa na Larry mwenye alitujoin, Morio pia alitujoin. Shukran to Musungu Okach, I believe you ni Musungu wa Afroway. Jeffrey Kiragu, shukran sana. Alafu naona Kafura pia muungana nasi. So kulikuwa na a comment here which ilikuwa tu a joke from Tunur akisema yani he is slim but hana uhakika, that's Slim Shaka. I get the pun, the wordplay. And then Morio alikuwa anasema yeye jitume kuemphasize point yako. Then Joyce akasema you should employ me as your visibility manager. Mimi kama mtu wa
Right.
ningekuuza kabisa. And then shukran to Supreme Client, shukran to Freddy, Jaira, Songeta, Ano Nyoike, House of 18, Nawaona Sana, shukran to Tony Agutu who has just joined, and then Moria amesema no people. No people travel the world. So in November last year, ulishare post tukasema poetry concept show coming. And ningetaka kuunderstand na utuambie how long did you have this show in mind, and then what was your process ya kuconceptualize na kustructure?
Show, actually, at first I wanted to do this show in November last year. November, was it November 24th? I had already booked Ukumbi Mdogo. Yes, I had booked Ukumbi Mdogo. And also I learned something is sometimes we think that we have already had all these things figured out, yes? And then my process of creation usually is I envision, like for me, I think first of a theme that I want to tackle, yes? And then I start to figure perspectives. So like for the entire show, I had the whole theme, and I wanted the issues to tackle. Yes, I wanted to tackle. I wrote those issues down, and then gave them titles, and then now from there I started to write. Yes, so I had that's usually my process. I think of I work more with vision, and then everything else follows. So I would see the show, I would picture the show, and then slowly the inspiration would give me the words. Yes. So I already had the vision of a dying breed, and when I started building it, my perspectives started to change. Like the show that I had designed, immediately after Macondo. Yes, immediately after Macondo, because Macondo was on 1st October. Yes, it was, no, 1st October. Yes, 1st October, because Roberta traveled all the way from Belgium. I remember, from 31st, just to perform with me. So, so I remember that was first. Yes, immediately after the 1st of October, I already had a vision to do the show. So I was like, I have October, it should be enough, and then I should do a show in November. Yes. So I was in my element, I was writing, but then by the time we were getting to mid-October, my perspective had changed. So I started getting more ideas. I started to get different perspectives. And it's quite interesting because the first draft of the show of A Dying Breed really didn't even get to make it to the show. The pieces that I had chosen or written for that first draft never really got to reach there, because now as I write, the perspective grow. Yeah? And I usually believe in designing more than I will need. Yes. For example, if I need to do a show and I need 5 pieces, yes, I feel like I will get perspectives that will give me 8 pieces or 9 pieces, and then now choose which pieces fit better. Yeah. So the more I was writing, the more I was getting broader perspectives for this. I even had a problem with Pablo because there was a time we would go to the studio and I would read for him the piece. And then the next day I would be like, Manze, I trashed that piece and this is hii ndio mpya sasa, hii ndio kusema sasa. So he had a problem with that because he was like, I need something to work with, something static. And for me, being static is very difficult because even now, I'm still rewriting some of the pieces, the show of a dying breed, because I just feel like they can always grow. Yes, they can always become better. I was explaining the process. Yes. Yeah. So yeah,
Conceptualizing the
that's
show.
yeah. So that's how I wrote the piece, and then by January now, I think by January I didn't have the luxury of rewriting the pieces. I had marketing here, I had rehearsals, I had to spend more time with Pablo in the studio. So now I just had to work with whatever I had already created for the rehearsals. So that pretty much became the process. But I worked on it for a lot of months, but it's not like a building. Yes, it's not like one brick on top of the other, a brick on top of the other. It's working towards a zone, an artistic zone that enable me to create. Does that make sense? Like when I tell people, I can tell someone I used 5 months.
Slim pia amezimiwa token. Hopefully we have him back tuendelee na mazungumzo yetu kuhusu over dying breed na craftsmanship. Shukran to the Wamboi for joining. Shukran to Wamboi Ndayo before the Wamboi. And Wamboi is sponsor hizi sessions za Sanaa kwa sana na our other sessions on Friday. King Felipe, shukran sana. Wamaitha, thank you for coming back. Nitap ama Nitap. I think let me see. Nione vile naweza isoma nisibucha jina lake though amedisappear so siwezi icheki hapa. But shukran sana to them. That is nit.a.p. Shukran to Poet Stano. Shukran to Rix. Shukran to Tony Yagutu mwenye nilikuwa nimetaja hapo awali. Amepigiwa simu na wenzake wa Brazil. They are checking in on Slim from Brazil. So acha tumpatie dakika arudi. I was supposed to mention this lakini nikasahau. Our previous session ilikuwa interrupted. Records zikadisappear. So iwapo ulikuwa umeuliza question kwa our previous session and you do not mind kuuliza ni tap. Ngoja ni tap. Bado kwa hapa. Shukran sana. Shukran sana. Kama una swali ulikuwa umeliuliza hapo awali unaweza uliza tena. Tumia preferably the question box on the bottom right of your screen. Kama hauna kwa tenje yako ni sawa, uliza kwa comment section. And then if you have any question kuhusu Over Dying Breed, kama uliattend the show ama you wanted to learn something about the show na huku kuwa still, unaweza uliza, tumia that question box or in the comment section, feel free. And then pia as a discussion in a program progress and you want more insight, you want more perspective, more thoughts from Slim, unaweza pia uliza. So just ask questions. Tuone kama atarudi. Akimaliza his international phone call. I know Babo aliattend, I know Wambo aliattend. I believe Joyce aliattend, Toon, Mori obviously yako hapo. Sikuona Musungu huko. Jeffrey, Wamaitha, Faustin, I think Nyash alikuwa, I think Brenda as well. But for Jeffrey, Wamaitha, Faustin, Duta, were you there for the show? Yeah, Joyce alikuwa. Tap anasema, I am a poet from LD. We'd really appreciate a session with you guys this side. Is it possible? Ukisema a session, do you mean an open mic session? Do you mean poetry show? What kind of session do you mean? And then, which guys are you referring to, Haswa? Slim amerudi. Babo says, I am in transit. Now Slim is just playing around. Tell him to leave. Slim on a joke. Nyash nakumbuka you are there. Yes. Slim is back. Moyo anasema mi ungeniona last month na last week, but I'm back. Shukran sana. Acha tuite huyu Brazilian hapa arudi. Are you done with your Brazilian phone call?
So no. This is the crazy bitch, man. I thought my phone was charging. I thought my phone was charging. So just sorry about that.
No pressure. Ulikuwa explain kuwakia your concept na kutap into a particular zone.
Yeah. Oh yes. So usually when I explain to someone, I took 5 months to create something. It does not mean that, people are like, wow, 5 months. That is a lot of things. But usually it's a building process, yes? It's a building where it's a process that slowly gets you to a zone where now you are able to create a master work, if I can call it that. At first, you start to create from wild perspectives, yes? You just have these wild ideas. And then now, once you delve deeper into these ideas, you start to realize that I think I could write it better this way. But you cannot, it's like, say, wanting to writing about football or creating football, yes? You start with a small pitch and then you slowly get to realize, now I need to include a stance for the fans, and you're like, I think I need to create a better stadium, So you are not able to create a stadium until the point that you design the first football pitch, the first basic, yes? So once you create that, the perspective always grows. So it's always important to always keep writing for me, always keep writing and always keep advancing, because perspective always grow. Yes, these perspectives always grow, because now I can now, at this point, I can go back and look at the drafts that I had created for the show of A Dying Breed and be like, there are a number of pieces that could not make it to the show, but they could make it to something else, yes? And I took them out because I felt like they are not really telling the story the way I want it told. I felt like they are not they're not aligning well with the story. Yes, and so I had to take them out. But I believe they could tell a different story. Yes, so that's how my process grows. So I can take 4 months to create something in a week. Yeah, so that's my process. The growth. Yeah, I grow into something. So it could take me a week to grow into that thing. It could take me months. Yeah, but when I get into that artistic zone, I just get to create it. Just get to create it.
So earlier Nyash alikuwa amesema I was there, then Joyce akasema Nyash sikukuona. Jeffrey Kiragu said unfortunately sikumake, nilikuwa na show pia. Kija karibu, shukran for being here. Brenda alisema of course nilikuwa nikoseaje, I remember nikikucheki. And then Nitap anasema a poetry show and also maybe workshops from both Sanaa and Slim. Tafani Slim, he's in the field. Mimi and then shukran to Mr. Flo Flani, Mr. Mpirigo, shukran to Brenda Mora. But yeah, Nita, we can always speak about Easy for you and to build upon what you're suggesting. I'm glad Slim is capturing and detailing process and how you're getting to what we see on stage and the idea of creating a masterwork and something that we're concerned with, where as an artist and as a creative, as you're getting into showcasing your work and performing for people, a lot that happens behind the scenes. As you've spoken about drafts and other ideas not making it to the final one, is similar to when people are making maybe albums and kuna songs that don't make it to the album. It's similar to authors when they're handing in their manuscripts, a lot gets removed that never make it to the final book that people get to read. So you get to see this sort of chipping away na kujaribu to get to the core of everything na align whatever it is you're crafting from start up until the end. So still on process, imenikumbusha the same thing kwa my conversation na Michelle Gatwigu tukiongelea Sky Up Above. Alisema kuna songs that didn't make it to her debut EP because of that, where some songs are aligned na the overall feel and idea, and so unaachana nazo. You've told us about vile mlikuwa mnakula mara moja kama TikTok kwa studio after rehearsing from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. then kuteka break then kuendelea hadi 1 a.m. How are the rehearsals with the other members when you collaborate na wao?
Because now that you have mentioned it, I think if the dancers will allow me to share this, hey man, it was crazy. So there was this particular time, we are running out of time, yes? And hey, when you choose to be an artist and you're the anchor of your show, like, because I was like, I'm Slim Shaka. I want bila Slim Shaka your show hata yezi endelea. You know, I want to be that important for the show. And I was paying the consequences. So Pablo is here demanding of my time. So tumepiga kazi, tumechapa kazi, we've only slept for like 3 or 4 hours. And then tumeamka the next day. Na naambia Pablo, lazima tumalize by saa 5, niko na session na dancers. Pablo ameniweka, we have a lot to work on. And everyone is like, unajua hii ndio important. So if you're running against time, kuna kwaga na hiyo panic kidogo, yes? Because at this point we realize that with the rehearsals required, we are like a month, we are negative 1 month. Pablo kept talking about that. Azingine uko kwa shower bana, unaoga, umetoka tu studio, umeingia shower uoge. Jamaa anakushautia bana, you know we are negative 1 month. Toka kwa shower ingia studio. You know, and I remember that day I was to meet the dancers. We were to do the rehearsals. And nikamalizana na Pablo, na nilikuwa natoka kwa Pablo because Pablo is in Kikuyu. Natoka around 5 p.m. So the only way I can meet the dancers is if they come to my place. So they come to my place, they decide to, we will vibe, spend some time, and then they will do the rehearsals. And I am exhausted. So these guys were rehearsing kwa parking lot at 1 a.m. in the night. Manze,
in the morning.
Oh,
Respect some of us, Slim. So
okay. Bana, morning is saa 2 asubuhi bana, saa 1. But wacha tu. This is so white. But ni sawa. So okay. I can't text someone good morning at 1 a.m. It's so not African. But ni sawa. So these guys at 1 a.m. in the morning, manze, they are giving their heart out. And you're there thinking, in chawi, But it was, you get how important this was for the whole team. Everyone needed to do their part, and everyone needed to give in so much, because at the same time kuna job, wasa wanaenda job, yeah? And kuna wenye wako chuo, kuna wenye wako na their own stuff, and the only time mnaweza kutana ni majioni na usiku. Na hii jioni na usiku mkifika wasanii, you have to vibe, yes, tujuliane hali before tuingie kwa rehearsals sessions. So watu wako hapo bana, wanasongesha miguu bana saa 7, just hoping you don't get these weird neighbors who will call the cops on you, kiateka waambie bana utahama, hizo uchawi unafanya usiku. Utahama. But the dedication this team really had, manze, mi hata sijui, I really did not understand, because wanapiga hivyo kazi, and then 6 in the morning wenye wanaenda shule, wanaenda kampo, wako na sijui 7 a.m. class, wakina Jenna wanaenda job, so ilikuwa dedication na lots and lots of passion, and you look at it and all that you can feel is gratitude. Unajua, from there usikii uchovu tena, usikii uchovu. That passion is enough to drive you, knowing that there's someone who's willing to dance, to dance their heart out over and over again. Remember, they're dancing plastic is only 7 minutes, but man, you look at how many times they have to do and redo and redo and redo until every word is given the gravity that it deserves. It's just powerful. It was just powerful. So that was the rehearsal process for me, having to find time between Pablo and the dancers. And one thing that was very important for me was to constantly be on call with them, just know how they're doing, just know how they've woken up. At this particular moment, every business of theirs is my business, if I don't need to share this, but one of our members was experiencing a heartbreak, mapenzi mnakatazwa, you're told mapenzi is now coming between such a beautiful work of
to quote a great contemporary great, love is not worth it.
It is acha tusiseme hivyo bana. Someone just got proposed to bana. You want to spoil it for them. Watu wa mapenzi. Hey. These relationships are giving us a lot of responsibilities, bwana. Yeah. But now I started to realize something very important is um, caring about the product that is art is not enough. And I will repeat, caring about the product that is art is not enough, especially when you are working with a team. How they how their feeling is very important. How their mood swing is seriously important. How or what's happening around their loved ones is very vital and very important, because it gets to affect the whole process. Yes. So at that point, you now start to learn how to care. Yeah. Because now we are from the point where everyone will come prepared and perform, to a point where everything in their life really matters. Yeah. So that also became a learning process for me. Yeah, for the rehearsals, taking care of myself. And hii pia nilisaidiwa sana na mwenzangu Kim. Kim was very instrumental in helping me understand how to take care of myself. Yeah, because at this point you are so obsessed about taking care of everyone else, ensuring that they are getting what they need and they're in the proper, mental state. But at this point, you need someone to take care of you, or at least you need to learn how to take care of yourself. Nakula mara moja kama TikTok, at this point. Hey, but I'm getting some crazy migraines. I am not sleeping enough. And at this particular moment, I'm having guys helping me take care of myself. I think hiyo pia ilikuwa something that nilivalue sana. Yeah, so hiyo ndio ilikuwa major. And then also with solo, yes. When Solo traveled into the country, I need to spend a lot of time with Pablo. But at the same time, what do you do with this artist from another country who amekuja? So at this particular moment, amekuwa your responsibility. Yes, it's ni kama how a parent is in the house, anapika, anamtoia, amemshika nguo, anamfuata everywhere. Yes, this has to be your life with this artist. You have to make sure that they don't feel like they are bored, or there's a huge gap. Yes, because at this time you're busy. So I had to involve Ibrahim Solo into my rehearsals, that I could basically part of the plan. But now I had to invite him in the studio with me, get more opinions and perspective on how to just work better. Yes, so hiyo ilimpatia a role and a purpose into the whole production. And at the end of the show, he was actually able to see some changes and some growth during the rehearsals kwa studio, and then the actual event huko hivyo.
Earlier on story ya time, na yes, 1 a.m. ni asubuhi. Mori walikuwa wanasema chronometer hatutambui, and then Tunhood akakubaliana na mwanafalsafa niliyenukuu hapo awali, akasema life is a waste of time. Shukran Tunhood, uko on point. And then kuna question from Poet Stano which we shall answer baadaye kidogo. So I am glad we're having this conversation, because nahisi iko na significance sana, kwa sababu kuna a lot of shows that zime happen na only a few people, so people who are close to you, a few of them, and the people who are part of the production of the show will get to know about the nitty-gritties and the behind the scenes. So this happens for a lot of shows that happen in this country, and shows that are produced in the world. Hatugetingi ku understand the process na kuona kile inafanyika, and I'm so glad that una share easy insights na sisi. Now we're having this discussion because iko documented and the history is there na haijakuwa lost, which ties to what we discussed with you tukisema most of these shows once they happen they end ni hivyo, nothing else happens after that. So hii ina extend the life of a dying breed na inapeana so much depth to what the show was and what we never got to see. And I remind me of Two Alipo Birds that I happened to be a part of late last year, and process story ingine so tunaweza ongelea quickly just because we mention dancers. Slim amedisappear tena, Brazilian Kolo is back. Umeongelea dancers, umeongelea Shiundu, Pablo, umeongelea Solo, kulikuwa na Shazi, kulikuwa na Kathy, those two were singers, kulikuwa na Duli on percussion. Unaweza mention briefly your process that went into selecting your collaborators for the show?
Yeah, so I think I already knew the people I wanted to work with way before, and like for Solo, it's been more than a year of wanting to work with him. Actually, how Solo and how I wanted to work with Solo was on an album or on a track, yes. But yeah, later on I thought Solo is a performer, and I am trying to bring a new experience to those that I call my audience. So I was like, how about I do this? Yes, how about I bring on board Solo from Uganda, because our arts or whatever we advocate for, they marry. So yeah, we had conversations. Actually, I had the conversations with Solo way before, even before I had the scripts, properly written, and he was vibe. Remember, Solo had also been working with Fikra Freethinker on an album. They actually worked on an entire album virtually. It's just crazy how the world of social media and technology has transformed things. So yeah, so Solo and Fikra had worked on an album. I remember that particular time I was supposed to be part of that album, but I had a lot of self-discovery to do. I needed to do deep analysis and deep research. At that particular moment was when I was transitioning from just being Poly to Slim Shaka. So I was not very ready. Yes, I was not ready to be part of that album, because these guys already knew what they wanted. They knew what they were being part of. And there's also another artist that I have not mentioned. He's Tanzanian. Yes, he's called Tony. So it was supposed to be a collaboration between Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania in creating an album. But when I was looking at it, Fikra is a rapper, yes. Solo is a rapper. And then Tony is a rapper. So I realized a lot of these tracks will require rap music, and I would start to feel like I'm out of place, because if the beat is not designed with a poet in mind, I'm always going to feel like I'm out of place. So I just decided to ask them to allow me not be part of that album. But from the word go, we always wanted to work together. So it became very easy. I just called Solo and told him about the event, and yeah, he showed up. Now, very interesting, is there is a lady in Uganda. I don't know her. Yes, I hadn't, but she knows me. Apparently, I'm that famous. So this Ugandan lady went to Solo and kept asking Solo that there's an artist I think you need to work with. A Kenyan, he's called Slim Shaka. And at that point, it didn't quite hit him. And then by the time I was calling Solo to tell him about my event, he assumed that the lady had connected us. And so when he was planning his travel to come, he called the lady and he's like, you remember when you asked Shaka to call me and plan this thing? It's happened. And the lady's like, so Shaka is having an event. I didn't even know. I didn't organize. Like you say, what are the chances? That is very weird. I don't know this lady completely. We are actually planning so that I also meet the people that really know me in Uganda. I have a fan base and a family inUganda. Yes,
No, you have
so
family
that,
there, we know.
Manze, I am. Yeah, so that was the process. That's how we got to work. And if you remember, there was an artist that I had talked about that I was supposed to feature on the show, but they were not in the show. It was Ben. Yeah, I talked about Ben. Well, unajua Ben, sindio? Yes, so I was I was to feature Ben in my show, and he got an emergency in the last minute. So when he got the emergency, I had the conversation with Shaz. Yeah, I think when it just became evident that we're not going to have Ben in the show. I didn't even think of anyone else. Shazi just came to mind, and yes, through Roba I was able to get hold of her, and yeah, she came through. So these are the instances where you now have to work with someone who you've not really involved them in a major part of the show, but our ideas, they married, and I explained the show, and we did a couple of runs, and comfortably she was able to be part of that. And the lady Ivan, who did the opera, so how I met Ivan was very interesting. I was trying to get myself into the spaces of actors. Yes, I started to go for acting auditions and looking for minor acting roles, not because I really see myself as an actor, but I believe there's something about actors and the skills that they have that I, as a performing artist, would need. Yes. And I've been observing a lot how Mufasa performs, and I could always see it. Like, there's a lot of value that he's gotten from his acting career that really enables him to give better life and better performance on stage. So I always had that desire. So I started going for acting auditions, and there was one. Hey, manze, I got a minor role in acting a movie. Kitokea mtaona. However, I didn't have a script because I was manze. It was a part where there's just it's like a half a minute long. It's just passing, and I don't really say anything. This called, but it's not an extra. It's not an extra. It's a major part of the show. It's only that we don't speak on the show. So that's where I met Ivan, and I made it very purposeful to tell most of the people, everyone that I met in the space, that I'm a performing artists, and I would ask if they do anything else. Of course, I met writers, I met poets, and I met Ivan, who said that she sings opera. So we started our conversations there. And I started to see the possibilities. Again, I was looking for new experience, yes. So anything that seemed a bit not very common in poetry spaces, I would get that. So yeah, I asked if we could collaborate, and then I shared the script, and then we found a song that would rhyme with that. And so yes, she became part of the production.
So for Dooley, na the dancers, quickly.
Oh, the Dooley, I've worked with Dooley before. For Dooley, I just chose him because Solo and I had a feeling that getting a percussion involved would work better for the African feel. Yes, because he was performing the Ugandan songs. So when I thought percussions, Dooley, he's very accessible, available. So I called him, and then we just linked up. And the dancers, I reached out to. So Jenna, of course, we've worked together with the Evolution Art Hub, so she was always in the picture. But Bruno, yes. So Jenna helped me get Victor. So Victor is the guy that danced salsa with Jenna. And Bruno, I found Bruno on Instagram. Yes, so he sometimes just posts his choreographies. So I just reached out to him, and I was like, would you be interested for us to work together on a production? And now we started to have more conversations, and I sent him the script, and then I sent him the piece. And then he read through it, thought through it, and then I went to the studio, recorded, and sent it to him, and he used it to write a choreography. So that's how we met. Yeah, that's how I met this
And
guy.
lastly, the puppeteers, because I noticed that uliadisia watu wengine wawili on top of Zenga.
Yes, so now it was just one puppetry. It's only that it was a bit complicated. I wanted to do for the piece that was Valentine's. It started with puppets doing a salsa, and then there's the piece, and then now real people doing the salsa dance. Yes. So the concept was because Valentine's kind of speaks of exploitation in a way of, how relationships spiced up, and then later we are exploited. So that became the puppeteering aspect of how our relationship with the West is puppeteered. Yes. And then later on, we realize that it's so real that we can't tell we're still being puppeteered. Yeah. So that was the concept connecting this. But now, to get two huge puppets to dance, we needed 5 people. Yes. So initially it was just Zenga doing one, but now with these big puppets, you need one person, because there are 2. So there's one person who is controlling the waist part of the puppet, and then there's one person who is controlling the hands, and then again these other puppets, and then you'd always have like the head. So for these 2 puppets to move very well, it meant these 4 people have to be involved. Now this is the interesting bit. These people have to move in synchrony, because for 4 people, imagine one puppet being moved by 3 people. There was one puppet that was being controlled by 3 people. They have to be in so much synchrony, because it has to almost seem natural, or seem natural for that matter. So they were doing a lot of rehearsals and a lot of practice together. Now for them, I just used to call and they would send me videos of the progress. Yeah. So that was how, so it was Zenga who helped me get the rest of puppeteers.
Mnaona vile wasanii wanajituma mbaya huku nje. Slim Shaka alisema anaenda all out kwa this show, and also if you did not know or if you might have forgotten, alikuwa na Zenga during second yake ya Cheche session, waliperform pamoja, and then also kama huko na Slim Shaka during hiyo point yake ya transition, alikuwa na a song na Fikra that ina exist mahali mtandaoni. Do you know what's interesting ni hiyo ngoma mara ya kwanza nilisikizia KBC.
Gani hiyo?
So hiyo ngoma yako na Fikra nilisikizia KBC. Because walikuwa na a radio show called The Underground by Bernard Okumu na Jared Ombui. At the time ilikuwa Okumu alikuwa anaifanya na alikuwa anaichezanga frequently. So huko ndio nilisikizanga the first time ile ilitoka. And yes, the reason I am who I am is because I listen to shows kama KBC. Mimi ni historian.
Kwenda kutafuta nini KBC? Radio, not even KBC television. KBC, who are you? Well, this guy is not human.
So uliambiwa earlier na kwanza shukran to Shani 4151, and then Joyce alikuwa amesema karibu Matoke Republic, my family is in Uganda too, and then Tool akiongelea role yako akikudis very disrespectful, alisema you are just a wiper. Shukran to Wendy. And then Joyce akasema hiyo pesa ya Valentine ilituumiza sisi watu single, and then shukran to Roger for returning here once again. Joyce, don't take these things personal. And ile nili appreciate hiyo piece ya Valentines nilihata because nilifika kwa shaiperform, but reading through what nili appreciate ni how ulitumia hiyo analogy na hiyo metaphor ya puppeteering and relationships, and then delve into easy imperialist and neo-colonialist relationships that are there between African countries and our colonizers. Uliongelea Belgium na Rwanda, uliongelea Italy na Somalia, uliongelea the British and East Africa, and kuonesha how the strings are still very much attached up until now. So I wanted to ask, nini ili inform the choice of stories that uli tell and that uli pull from or you referred to? For example, Dream House, and then Let the Man Cook, and the idea ya elections. Kulikuwa na story ya Patrice Lumumba kwa Tooth Back, kulikuwa na Haile Selassie na Ethiopia, kulikuwa na the 1898 drought, ilikuwa very ravaging, kulikuwa na plastic pollution na climate change, kuna student marks. What was the sort of inspiration behind pulling from these stories or referring to them?
So ideally I was looking for a lot of perspectives to pretty much tell the same thing, because if you actually look at it, it's just the spectrum changing, but ideally inaongea tu about the same thing. It's what the Valentine speaks about is what Dream House speaks about. But initially, yes, now that was, I think it was the second draft, yeah. I don't know if you've noticed, but it was you're smiling, you noticed. So how the first half of the piece is more like a story, yes? So there's the piece number one, the 1 minute piece that literally just starts by us asking or saying, sorry that we are not woke, yes? It starts to represent how the show starts. It's representing me as the modern youth. I am considered not woke and not caring about things that are important. Yes. A woke person, you need to know what the GDP is, you need to know about the inflation rates, you need to know about this, know about governance, this. But our generation is battling some other things. They don't have time for wokeness, apparently, as it is framed. A majority of our generation is working so hard to escape, yes, this thing that is the reality. So the piece starts by acknowledging that and standing with them, showing that we have cases of abortion that is affecting us. We have suicide. We have attempted suicide. You know, we are still battling the economy. So the piece starts from that point. Yes, I am this youth who is going through a lot of things. So please understand if I don't seem woke enough to your world. Yes. So the first piece starts to address that. And then the second piece, now this poem goes on to address also how we are kind of trying to appreciate but also losing touch. We talk about the loneliness our parents go through. We talk about, drug addiction. We talk about sickness and all this stuff, and kind of trying to give heart to ourselves and remind ourselves that, it's okay and everything will be all right. Yes. So now I have understood or taken my position as the modern youth. So immediately after that, we get into the rifle. Yes. So the rifle tells the story of this mighty king who paid Africa a visit, and they brought this, they brought that, they brought that, they brought that. And as the peace rifle ends, is Africa got married to the rifle. Yes. So now at this point, we have fallen in love with rifle, and the rifle represents power and control. Yes, now we as primitive Africans, now we are learning how to govern ourselves and how to govern resources. So now, remember, it's Africa got married to the rifle. That's how that 3-minute piece ends. Remember, it starts with a 1-minute piece. The first piece is 1 minute, and then the second piece is 2 minutes, and then the third minute is 3 minutes. But immediately after the third minute, we are not doing a countdown. For those who are the show could tell, when I was doing the first minute, I had the countdown. The second minute, I had a 2-minute countdown. The third minute, I had a 3-minute countdown. But after this, immediately Africa gets married to the rifle. There is no countdown. Now we get into Valentine's. After we're married to the rifle, now the marriage is expounded in, the relationship. Now we're making love. Countries are making love with their colonizers. And now after Valentine's is done, we've already made love, or we are in the process of making love. Remember, when you're married, the first thing that people think about is tujenge nyumba. Yes. So now this marriage, yeah.
Tujenge keja.
Tujenge keja. So it's like, yes. So now that we are married, now that we are in a relationship, what's your dream house? So what's your dream house is now that you already know how we govern, because after you're colonized, you already understand the colonial system. Yes. So now you would want to govern. So now this dream house, it started with a sound bite. And this is a very interesting sound bite. It was the BBC report about Kenya on Independence Day. And there's a line that is repeated by this white person. They say, this is a period where a wilderness became a thriving country. So they actually define Kenya as a wilderness that became a thriving country. So colonialism turned us from wilderness to a thriving country. So now this thriving country, it means the colonial system makes us a thriving country, and therefore we ask, what's your dream house? Now the dream house in this particular sense is the state house, yes? So we ask, what's your dream house, you know, and how the piece kind of relates to political reach, and also at the same time economic reach. You know how guys would do anything for a 3-bedroom house. Guys are working so hard to pay rent. It's the same struggle yenye mimi as Slim Shaka napitia, getting to pay my rent, is the same struggle some guy somewhere is working on a protest to get into the state house. You know, everyone is striving to get to their dream house. It's political on their end, it's economic on my end. So now the story goes on. So now we kind of have a house, yes, but now in nyumba, something that flavors the house is the kitchen. The way to a man's heart is through the kitchen. So let the man cook. And how does this man cook? Through taxes, through these things. So that's how I was moving the story. Yes. And so now we let the man cook. But this cooking is how the government is cooking right now, how the colonial government used to cook. Yes, so it's just how it is in relation to politics, governance, and history. Yes, so that's why I did Let the Man Cook. And now I found a very interesting transition to Patrice Lumumba's Tooth. I wanted to talk about it. So Patrice Lumumba's Tooth, initially I had labeled it as dessert. Yes, so the piece asks, who brought dessert? Sorry, the script that I had sent you was not the upgraded, because I upgraded it. So Patrice Lumumba's tooth, or brought the tooth back, is actually a dessert. After Let the Man Cook, now we have the dessert. The dessert therefore becomes, they have now served us all these things, now they bring the dessert that is Patrice Lumumba's tooth. Yes. So now we at this particular point, now it starts to delve even deeper into historical injustices, and now it is no longer a story that really progresses. It's shifting. Yeah, it's still progressive, but it's shifting to a different or a deeper path. So now it's talking more about exploitation. So now, yeah, that's where we had now Patrice Lumumba's tooth being a dessert, but now it stops following that path and now starts to delve deeper into this. Now we are getting into Congo, the exploitation of Congo, the tooth back. So we get into Ghost, yes, which explores the Kolwezi mining, or the mines in Kolwezi. So yes, so that's how the piece now gets to progress. But now at this point, it's no longer very linear. It becomes more divergent, picks a path, and then delves into it, takes another path, delves into it, but all of it to just describe exploitation.
And I even think ukiangalia hizo pieces zote, as you've said, coming from the opening piece to this poem to the rifle up until place umefika ya Ghost, and after that kulikuwa na Drought. If you look at these pieces, vile umesema rightfully so, ziko connected, because idea ya exploitation is
Yeah.
happening and causing all of the concerns that unaongelea kwa hizi pieces zote. And we do
Yeah.
know how rule and leadership work. We do know how governance work. We do know how politics hufanya kazi, capitalism, patriarchy. All of these angles ziko connected, and the result is what ulikuwa una touch upon kwa pieces zako. Colonialism, slavery, all of these things are connected. And the question I would also ask to someone who is watching na anasikiza ni whether unadhani kuna possibility ya kuweza ku dismantle the master's house with the master's tools. But moving forward, kulikuwa na you using quotes kwa screen, and even I saw kwa your stories afterwards, because sikupata your part ya let the man cook and your recipe which ilikuwa creative na imaginative. Ulikuwa unatumia a screen on the opposite side of the stage, our right, stage left, and ulikuwa unaweka quotes. Ulikuwa na umequote Lumumba, uliquote Sankara, and as that was happening, kwa akili yangu kuna point nilikuwa najiambia, I really hope Slim Shaka ako na quotes from women as well. And that happened. Serendipitously, it happened. Kulikuwa quote ya Wangari Maathai kuhusu consciousness. Now, at that point, ikifika where you have to change your consciousness. And then afterwards, kulikuwa na Chieng's Let Love Lead. So I found that to be really beautiful. Kwanza, in terms of using also women as well kwa history, when you most of the time were erased from history a lot. And then, apart from doing that, also using a contemporary person who is a Chieng, who is a singer, and kutumia quote yake kwa hii historical show that also covers politics. I found that to be really amazing and in a line because we are learning International Women's Day. So really important sana. You're welcome, Slim. I am pointing you to be a very good person. So nitasoma a few lines and then just make brief commentaries on these lines as we go. So this one you've touched upon, but unaweza sema something, a line or two. This is from The Rifle. Ulisema, the king married Africa with the Bible. Africa got married to the rifle. Do you have anything to say to that or add?
No, because no. I think that was, for me, that was a line so important to signify a transition. Yes, transition from we not being able to recover from post-colonialism. Yes, so the rifle ideally just became part of our governance now.
And also, I think it worked really well as a transition from that piece to the next piece. This point of marriage and then getting into the next piece. And as I was reading through it, ilinikumbusha something that Ngugi notes kwa decolonizing the mind, the politics of language in African literature. Anasemanga something along the lines of the three imperative things that were used to ensure colonialism may succeed. Kulikuwa na Bible, kulikuwa na hospitals, na kulikuwa na Bible, which also in refer to the church, kulikuwa na hospitals, and then kulikuwa na schools. And ukifikiria kuhusu schools and tying back to language, as you were saying earlier, back in primary school, idea kuvalishwa disk ukiongea lugha ingine. Damage. So from dessert or brought the truth back, if you will add some commentary, feel free to do so. Ulisema Congo, what do you do now? Do you deal with the history of massacre, or do you deal with the youth being massacred? Because the way the bodies are moving, it's a movie. Cut. It's a scary movie. Do we talk about the children in history whose hands were cut? Or do we talk about the rebels using rape to get their cut? cut the ties. After 61 years, they brought the truth back. But until we understand what that means, it remains just that.
Mhm. Yeah, Manze, for me, it was, personally, it was very emotional when I was looking back in the history of the mines of Congo. Yes. What people don't understand is initially, before Belgium actually, why are you calling me? Initially, before Belgium took charge of Congo, Congo was being ruled by uh, King Leopold, yes, the second. And Leopold was very strategic, yes, he was very strategic in wanting the most from the continent, because and this has to be noted every time people or history sometimes chooses to ignore, like when we are talking of the sufferings of the sufferings of Congo, we forget the biggest beneficiary at this particular time. The biggest beneficiary of Congolese mines was United States of America, yes, and they were the biggest beneficiary because they kept demanding more of these resources. And Menelik, Leopold, who was now in charge of the mines, had to find ways to get more. Yes. So when they realized that the adults, we can't have enough adults to do the mines, they were getting kids. And as a punishment for those who could not get to their quarters, they would have their hands cut. So man, imagine this man taking children and lining them up and cutting their hands as a punishment for not mining certain quantity. And that fact, even after, because when the brutality got too much, Belgium government decided, you now sit aside, let us manage this. But the guy was not even punished for the same atrocities. And still, the US was still funding this thing, and it seemed like the whole world just didn't care. And now you trace it to what's happening right now, how rebels, all the way from when, all the way from just the ancient times, how rebels have been used in the African continent to destabilize governments. Yes. So now we have these rebels that are being paid so that they do some wild atrocities to their own people, so that the government will go and seek help. And when how the help comes is, give us a certain percentage of rights to the mines, and then we will help you keep your country safe. So I was relating to how that used to happen and how it has not changed until this part. We are stuck between really sorting out the mess in the history that has not been accounted for and the mess that is happening right now. Because come to think of this, if the Jews felt like they needed to go, yes, and look or reach all those people who were involved with Hitler in the murdering of Jews, including the small rank generals. Yes, he felt like the Jews felt like someone has to pay for it. So it is traced down to the generations because they are Jews. But we Africans, the historical injustices do not seem like they should be traced enough. So now we are still between struggling with the same things happening to us right now and the things that happened long ago. So that actually became my question to Africa. Yeah, which part of our history or which part of what's happening right now do we really need to pay attention more to?
And definitely the strings are still attached. Very much so, very much so. So nitasoma hizi mbili back to back. Kwa drought ulisema stealing from the hospitals became a rewarding tragedy, and it happens so spontaneously with so much ease, like a mother and her child in a car sleeping out of a ferry into the ocean of indifference. And then from the opening piece, which you touched on, ulisema, but you know very well, only beyond the age of youth does the pearl of wisdom open and tell, give us time. We are just lost in the dictated design of a dying breed. You can choose to add anything, but ningependa kuuliza, with of a dying breed, una feel uliachieve lengo lako?
Yes. I feel like I achieved what I intended to, but bado not in entirety, because you remember when I told you I want to be able to at least do it 3 times before the year ends. So bado na pursue a lot of a continuation to this, but of a dying breed as a production, the first production, I feel I and the team, we really achieved what we intended to. And at this point, Niko very grateful. I agree that I still have a lot of learning to do, and I'm so open, yes, even to the guys at the comment section, guys who attended the show. I am taking in criticism, positive criticism, of course, zenye zinaweza kunisaidia grow as an artist, yes, loopholes or even opportunities that were missed. I remember I watched the review that you had done for the show, and kuna mali nilipata sana, and I also agree where you were talking about the pace, yes, where the pace was sometimes it was really dragged, yeah. So I took that in, and I think I'm actually looking into it, because for this particular show, I did not have a creatives director. I was my own creatives director, and with that comes the challenge of not really being able to see the whole thing, yes, from all angles. So it's usually limiting in a sense. So welcome kabisa. The last line, that 1 minute piece, saying
Give us time.
Yeah, we're just lost in a dictator. Only beyond the age of youth does the pearl of wisdom open and tell. So this is just how experience makes us, experience that comes with age, really makes us wiser as we move. So I was just trying to show that, we know, and we are just trying to learn as we grow older.
Tunakaribia kukamilisha. Unaweza tuambia briefly kuhusu your marketing strategy getting into this? Ulianza around December kutoa the advance, and then you only had Jan, and then pia unaweza tuambia, if you may, kama uli break even. Kama diplomatic usituambie.
The show had lots and lots of value, had a really, really dope value. I think I was not looking to make money, because you could tell how the marketing and how the show was done. Like I had an early bird ticket that was 500 bob, and it was not quantified in terms of, it was not quantified in terms of the number of tickets and seats, but I just had it opened until 15th of January. Yes. So my aim was to have as many people as possible on board. And of course, my greatest goal financially was to be able to break even and appreciate my team. Nikitaka kutengeneza pesa tunajua vile tutafanya tikiti. But yeah. Yeah, so that was it. And swali, kuna swali umeuliza.
Ilikuwa tu kuhusu your marketing strategy.
Oh, yeah, the marketing strategy. Actually, now that Goofy is here, yes, Goofy. Hello. Goofy
ameingia. Karibu sana pia Ivy Suki. Karibu sana Experience. Karibu Robo Gure 4. Karibu Feyash. Karibu The Proverb 254. Karibu Nadashil, who is here. Alia na pia shukran to Morio, Nyanchama, Joyce, Tunhood, Paul, Shiundu, bado wako nasi, Camille. Asante sana.
Nani alinisaidia sana about marketing strategy, Goofy, even though I didn't explore it extensively as he had advised, but at least alinipatia an insight on how to just make a better visibility of the marketing strategy. Alinisaidia pia on how to do the videos. Yes. So initially I just wanted to do like 2-minute videos, but then he helped me actually realize that, my greatest marketing platform would be on Instagram and WhatsApp. Yes. So getting to create videos that would at least send the message within that particular time frame inakuwa rahisi, even with the Instagram stories. Ilikuwa kitu yenye sikuwa nayo kwa akili. And also the beauty of just starting to market the event early enough. Hapo nilikuwa nimehata, though him and I had had that conversation months prior. Yeah, months prior. So yeah, so the marketing strategy was, actually I started actively marketing it in January. Because poster nilitoa January, actually, yeah. Nilitoa January 5th, I believe so. Nilitoa, yeah, was it January? I think it was January 5th. Nilitoa the first poster. And so nilikuwa natafuta how to keep my audience engaged and how to keep a better circulation. Pia alikuwa amenisaidia na very interesting strategy about getting a number of people who really, really believe in what I do and are willing to help me market. So when you have like a group of 20 people and then you are sharing the marketing strategy with them, they now help you roll the marketing strategy. So ilikuwa nili market sana more than any other platform. I marketed on Instagram because I had, that's where I have a majority of the audience. So nilikuwa natumia the poster circulation, stories, and then I did the live. Yes. So for the videos nilikuwa na 3 promo videos, but only one ndio nilikuwa able kumaliza in time. So niko na video 2 nitazi release, lakini yeah, it was it was a learning curve, an interesting one.
It's always a learning process. Na Goofy ame comment hapo pia. So as we are finishing this, what does the future of Africa look like to Slim Shaka?
The future looks bright for me because I am hoping to break this barrier and boundary that is country. Yes, I want to be able to collaborate more with to Maliza not on time. Okay. I want to collaborate more with other artists around the continent. Yes, like I said, I am in conversations with artists, poets in Zimbabwe. We are actually looking at the possibilities of doing events together. Of course, solo, we are also in communication. And then there's Tony in Uganda. So I am hoping for days when, and then we have the likes of Desmond and Enigma in Rwanda. So when we already have collaborations in place with these people, it's very possible to have a show done in Kenya and then still done in Rwanda and Uganda and Zimbabwe. And, so when I am designing a poetry show, I want to be able to do it in at least 4 different countries. That is my goal as at now. I really hope that it will come to fruition. But I think the one that is closest is one with Ibrahim Solo. We are now in conversation. We're just going to see how possible it is to do a show in Uganda. Yes, and also we realize that there's an advantage. Like we had Good Institute partner with us to do the show here. Yes, so we were looking at the possibilities of having Good Institute in Uganda to enable the same through the Good Institute communication here in the country. So when we are working with such collaborations, it just becomes very easy. So yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan so far. Bado iko huko chini, but hopefully itafanyika.
Yeah, as long as jikoni, we shall let the man cook.
Let the man cook.
So hiyo ni future with regards to Slim. If possible, in a sentence or two, what do you think the future is of Africa, or the future for Africa? After all this history na politics na stories kuhusu governance, politics yetu, how we run our things, future ya Africa inakaaje kwako? In a sentence or two.
I just think it's hopeful. It's hopeful because guys are listening and guys are speaking out. Like the things I, as Slim Shaka, is talking about, yes, are the same things Chioniso in Zimbabwe is talking about, are the same things Ibrahim Solo in Uganda is talking about. So I think more people, we are getting more people into the conversation, or more people are being heard. So I think I want the best for Africa. Right now it's bad because we are choosing bad leaders. We are choosing people who seriously don't care about us. But we always have to look on the brighter side. Yeah. But hey, choices zetu ni mbovu. I think that's the biggest challenge that we have. So a really awful height of falling. But I think
tungoje 5 years chague menu.
Acha tuchague. Menu tunajua. Siku hizi tunachaguliwa menu bana.
Tunachaguliwa menu. Hadi nimekumbuka kulikuwa na another question. I think we'll
Yes.
get this two and another one here. But I think I asked this one. So kulikuwa na from Poet Stan wakamuuliza, how long do your basic initial drafts go for your creative process?
No, I don't have a time limit. I don't have a. It just happens in zones. Like that first draft can take a month, can take a week, can even take a year, because there are processes where you can be writing 2 or 3 projects or productions at the same time. So there are some that will take longer than others. There are others that require a lot of research, yes. So you need to watch a lot of documentaries, you need to read books. And documentaries will mean good documentaries, because I realize now, after watching a lot, there are documentaries that are designed to preach a certain narrative, yes. So having to pick one that aligns with what you're looking for, reading books. And then there are productions that just require you to just sit and reflect. Yes, you don't really need a lot of research, but introspection. So yeah, different strokes for different books.
And also importantly, with documentaries and films and historical films and the like, inakwanga pia also important kuangalia the people behind the production. You were able to understand what intentions walikuwa nazo and what they have been aligned with. You want how also the documentary and the film play out. The question currently on the screen, Slim ulikushajibu because niliuliza kuhusu lengo lako na tumeongelea effort and whether ulikuwa uliachieve. But that was from Brenda. Alkamuliza, was the effort you put into delivering of a dying breed pay off? Did the effort pay off? So we had talked about that. As we conclude this, Slim, we will deliver to us our performance, a brief performance, and then unaweza sign off after that. Slim, take it away.
Okay, so this is a 2-minute poem called This Poem. I'd love to live in this poem, for it has visited the joyful hearts in the realization of dreams. This right here. This poem has cuddled with parents learning to walk in loneliness, mad loneliness, in the houses that were once filled with joyful laughter that painted a love mural. It has carried their prayers to watch over their wandering children with wandering dreams in a world that is sickened by the wasting of desires. But this poem knows that they pray for you. But you know prayers carries hope and comfort, but can't really keep them company like you do. Amen doesn't end sentences like you do. Thy will being done on earth as is in heaven is in the way you smile and in the way you look at them when you do. This poem appreciates the warmth of your presence, and it asks that you do the same for those that care for you. This poem chills with those that are dependent on drugs, and it's making them sick. Those that are sick and dependent on drugs, their joy is wrinkled, their smiles in drugs. Take this poem for your pain. It is toasted in floral confession, just waiting to be plucked. Take this poem for the wounded expressions of the hopeful heart that everything will be all right. This poem promises heaven to your heart, but only if you dare genuinely love yourself. Experience dreams of great delight in just being you. Thank you.
snap. Any final words, Mr. Slim? Unaweza ambia watu wakuja kuone saa tu ukidrop wisdom mahali as you have dropped wisdom here today.
I just want to really appreciate Sanaa kwa sana. Kabisa. You guys mnafanya kazi mzuri sana, and I really appreciate. At least I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, I will never ever get a documentation of the journey of my art anywhere better than Sanaa kwa sana, and I really do appreciate that. And Saturday, Pale Good Institute, yes. You can check kwa Instagram handle yangu. I have shared the poster there. The great Tra, yeah, will be there with Nyash. And then we will be having a podcast. Bring your questions. Let's ponder. Let's have conversations about these things that we love about. So Tra will be talking about his art. I will be talking about my journey. Nyash will also talk about her journey as well. But of a dying breed, sijamalizana nayo. I am still looking for more opportunities and more ways to have it, the production done. So I am still writing to organizations. I am still writing to groups. I'm still writing to spaces. I believe there's more that can be achieved. It was just one show, and it was served to 100 people. I believe there's still more people who need that message. And plus, we put in so much time, so much effort, so much research to just have it done in one day. So just look out. I'm sure, like I said, I am hopeful to do it at least 4 times in different parts of the country as well. So yeah, if I will be doing it again soon. Hopefully, yes, I really hope to get a partner who will be able to cover the production cost so that it becomes free to everyone. That is my intention, because I intend to be studied. So yes, so bado sijamalizana nayo. Yeah, that's it.
Na definitely wewe kutomalizana nayo, this conversation is part of it, because tulikuwa tunaongea na Slim kuhusu ways of giving hizi shows more life and more shapes, zikuwe very flexible, zikuwe very malleable, na ziende na zidevelop, isikuwe tu a one-off thing. The fact that we've sat down and had this conversation is a testament to the possibility of shows taking more life na zinaweza kuwa na different shapes, and I'm so glad that tumekaa na tukawa conversation very in depth, and kidogo Slim anafanya nidia akinisifia hapa akisema nimefanya kazi mzuri, something that alifanya na comment yake on YouTube. If you watch the review, Slim ali comment on that video, and I wanted to say thank you so much for a really touching and profound comment. Nashukuru sana for the words that uliacha on that comment section. Check it out. It's my review of a dying breed event ya Slim Shaka iliyo happen 11th Feb, ile tumekuwa tukiongelea, and we have 11 people here who are left with us. But shukran sana Slim for your kind words. Shukran for being able to join this session. Hata ingawaje ulichelewa, tunashukuru. Niko sure pia mashabiki wako and those who've joined this session have enjoyed the conversation. And if you have further questions, you can drop them. If you're watching this later, feel free to also add other comments. Tutashukuru sana. Slim, asante sana. Kwako.
Yeah. Sawa. Mimi pia nashukuru to everyone who's been in the live. Remember, March 11th, ndio tutakuwa pia na podcast. What are the chances?
Haya wanze, kwa wale wenye mnalala mlale vyema, kwa wale wenye mnaanza siku in a few, mwanze siku vyema. If you're watching this baadaye, asante for being
Yeah.
here. Shukran sana.
Bless.
Whew. Ooh, ooh. Only at Sanaa kwa sana, si ndio? Where, where, where else? Where else? No, we niambie where else. Shukran kwa sana to Babo mwenye alikuwa amestep out akarudi. Shukran to Morio, shukran to Nyanchama, shukran to Joyce, shukran to Pablo mwenye bado ako nasi, shukran to Bennett3 na shukran to Brenda who is still here with us. Asante sana for joining this conversation. Itakuwa available on Instagram, itakuwa available pia on YouTube. You can always refer to it whenever. The history iko documented and ina exist, and that is the beauty of this conversation, and that is the absolute beauty na delight of kile tunafanya as Sanaa kwa Sana. It has always been the objective kuwa able to document hizi stories, kuwa able kukuwa na a reference point, because this is a library, and I always say Sanaa kwa Sana is a library. It is a vast library, a vast one. So hii ina exist, tumeongeza a file, tumeongeza a book, tumeongeza a folder kwa the library that is Sanaa kwa Sana. Section ya performance art, performance poetry, section ya theatrical shows, section ya storytelling, section ya poetry, spoken word. Tumeongeza folder ya Slim Shaka pale through this conversation. Next to it kuna my review of show yake. Next to it kuna my review of show yake at Cheche. Next to it kuna my discussion of performance yake at show. All those folders zina exist, all those files ziko available, all those books you can check them out na uzisome na ugeti historia na ugeti hizi stories. Na asante kwako for being a part of this. Asante sana. Tuchekiane on Sunday for our Sanaa kwa Sana Sunday session, which is gonna happen on YouTube and not on Instagram. So turn on your notifications. Pia hii wiki ni our Cardinali affair. Today earlier nimedrop our video na irauka tukifanya our predictions on the album before tuisikize. Ni videos from December, and then kuna my first listen reaction to the album ndani ya Cockpit 3, and then kuna our review of the project. So ni leo, and then on Friday, and then on Sunday. So tupatane YouTube. Asante sana for being a part of this. Thank you so much for your time, and shukran to Slim sana sana sana.